we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff. So I want to start it off by, it is almost MLK Day.
Exactly. Monday, January the 15th.
Absolutely. So do you feel like, and as a culture, do you feel like MLK Day is dead?
As a culture, I think it's not dead. That would be dead. But I think that as new millennials come, start growing up, they're not really keeping up with the history, and that's why it's important that our as parents and grandparents still educate the younger generation
and
pass it down, continue to pass it down, because our ancestors and our grandparents, such my mom and dad and grandma, they went through a lot to help us get to where we are today.
It was a big thing. Like, I can remember, I'm from Atlanta, so I grew up in Atlanta. Like, it was a big thing. Like, we would be out of school, we would go down to the MLK Center, we would visit his home.
Exactly.
Like, it was a whole thing. And then, the King Center. So, ironically, I'm from Atlanta, you're from Memphis, which is... stupid ironic, right?
Memphis, Tennessee, the Lorraine Motel.
Yeah.
I used to visit there every Martin Luther King Day when we stayed there. And it's this interesting gallery to go actually and tour and actually go to the actual room where he was shot in.
Wow.
And they still have certain markings of where he was found on the balcony.
Really? On the balcony, yeah. That's crazy. So he was born in Atlanta, died in Memphis.
Yeah.
So our MLK days were a little bit different.
It was.
So we went to the house where he was born. Yeah. Y'all went to the place where he died.
And we traveled to Atlanta to go visit the home.
Yeah.
And the church in Ebenezer.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, that's the whole thing.
It is.
So if y'all haven't been to Atlanta, to the MLK Center, to visit the church, Ebenezer, and all of that, y'all, what are y'all doing, right?
Yeah.
So I was also reading that they have this new sculpture called the Embrace, right? And I don't think we feeling it as a culture. It's about him when, the picture when him and Coretta Scott King, it was a big embrace that, they gave this big hug afterwards. And so they took or made a sculpture out of it, but it's only of the arms, no heads or anything.
Yeah, and they spent how much on that?
I don't even know, but it's in Boston, y'all.
Yeah, I think they may have good intentions, but I think that funds could have went somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even know what it is. It's like two arms embracing. Right. It's in the shape of a heart. But there's no head, no face. So anybody who doesn't already know what it is won't know what it is.
Right, exactly. So,
you're speechless.
Yeah, is it at a church or something?
No, it is at, I think, some type of museum or something like that.
I only thing I can say is they had good intentions, and but I think that money could have went more toward other communities.
Maybe something educational.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even if they had, I guess they're talking about when he won the Nobel Prize, and I guess that goes into some type of history. But I just feel like they could have done something with his face or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna do more research on a little bit more research on that and see what's really behind the cause of them doing that. But I think they had good intentions.
I think they had good intentions,
but
yeah.
It's
like they almost need to check in with the culture, though. They don't ever think to check in with us.
In Boston.
But it's, it's MLK. It's just like, y'all check in with us. Just kind of, I don't care if you do a survey. And then, we as a culture could have decided, or let you know that it wasn't a good idea and showed you how to spend the money in a way that we felt.
To support the cause, but just do it another way.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's headless. Nobody would know what it represents.
Yes.
Really.
And so I was reading, some people are like, that could have gone to reparations.
Right, exactly.
It just gets out of control. So why do you feel like as a culture we should continue to, celebrate Martin Luther King?
I think we should continue to celebrate Martin Luther King holiday because it's part of history.
Yeah.
And they went through Martin Luther King went through a lot to get us
to where we
where we
are.
are.
Yeah.
And what the work he did in the past is seen today with even with our generation, and then our younger generation, our millennials, and our upcoming teenagers and kids to come. So I think it should still be celebrated and honored. Because it took a lot of work to get where we are today. Although we have a long way to go, it took a lot of work to get where we are today.
And this is the thing that I don't like, and I don't think that we address it enough, is the fact that it doesn't just benefit, he didn't just benefit black people, he benefited all races, y'all, like Latinos, Asians, Indians, all y'all should be celebrating Martin Luther King, because without him, you wouldn't even have any rights.
Yeah, he fought. He put his life on the line. For that.
Not just for black people. I don't think people realize that.
Not for black. It was just for he said human rights. He said no color.
Yes.
White, white, black, Latinos, whatever, Jews, Gentiles,
anything.
Right. Exactly.
So I think as a culture, I think we should start putting that message out more, that Martin Luther King didn't just fight for black people. Of course, it benefited us the most. You know, most would probably say because he's a black man, but he really fought for the rights of all humanity, for everyone to be seen as equal.
He sure did. I remember my mom going to Tennessee State University and telling me stories about the sit-ins they used to have. And So you know, like my mom's generation, like she's in the like 70s.
Yeah, my mom too. Baby boomers.
So they have a lot of stories about that.
Yes.
And they participated in a lot of those protests. And she said when they heard he died, you know, it was just a sad day.
Of course.
For the world.
Now, here's one thing that I don't like, and even with my own mother, it's hard to pull that information out of them. And even my daughter was saying that her grandmother lives in Birmingham, ironically, right? So even her grandmother, it's like once you start asking them about it, they're like, ooh, that's too much trauma. I don't even want to go back there. My mother was like, I already lived it. I don't want to talk about it ever again. But that's kind of what happened in slavery, too. It was just like they buried it under the rug and didn't tell the stories, didn't share the stories. So that's why we don't really know other than what we see on television.
And I'm just going to bring this up because something I was listening to a sermon earlier today. And it was talking about, I think Emmett Till, you know, he was looked at the white woman and they killed him. And then they had already killed him, but then the lady, before she died on her deathbed, she said she was just kidding.
She lied. She
lied,
many.
You know, and that's all, you know, part of our history, you know. And so I didn't even really just realize that she actually said that on her deathbed. Did you know that already?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, I might have heard in the past, but I really listened to today. And I just, you know, the senseless death, and that was part of why King fought for it too. So it's always, you know, all ties in to get us to where we are today, because you know those laws no longer are here.
Right. So even the Tulsa situation, they called it the what did they call that city in Tulsa?
Tuskegee.
No. Where all the black people had the businesses and stuff like that in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then they burned it down.
Oh, okay.
So what started that though was a white woman lying and saying that a black boy had touched her in an elevator.
Oh, okay.
And so they came and hung him, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they came and hung him, and it started a riot from there. And then come to find out, of course, he didn't touch her. It's just that they were in the elevator. I think he was the elevator operator. The elevator shifted and he got forced into her.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's been so much I've heard. I don't even remember that story. I've talked my head, but yeah. It's just all, you know, all of this ties in together, you know, with everything's just changed now. So people still have that mentality. Some people do. Yeah. But it's just under, you know, they do undercover there.
Exactly. I was at my daughter's Tech Fest. She went to Tech Fest today. And we walked in there and it was only old white men in there. You know, my daughter, she's going to be a scientist. So she's like super, super smart. So all her circles are like older white people and scientists and stuff like that. And so to walk in that space, they were looking at us like aliens.
Really?
Yeah.
And you know what? It is some organizations now and women
Yes,
companies
them.
that are trying to encourage
That's
our
what she's
younger people
doing.
to get into the tech field.
Absolutely.
And that's very important. That is a field that's wide open to everybody now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember my middle daughter Jalen used to be in the tech field.
Yeah.
I think robotics. Or something.
Robotics. Okay.
Yeah, so I remember doing that in middle school with her, and and I've seen more people come out and try to get advertise about getting your kids into tech, which would be
absolutely.
a good field, and that's something to consider, instead, college is always good to go to college, but you don't always need college to get a good career.
Right.
And tech is is coming up. We're going more into tech than anything else. Next we're going to be into robots. And that's coming. They're already there.
Yeah.
But, it's going to be getting more into robots. So tech is definitely
and that's really the way I push my kids. Like my son is in aviation. He's an airplane mechanic. My daughter, she's going to be a scientist. So I just wanted to push them towards different stuff where we don't really see ourselves so that they could make it cool. They kind of have to see it. So that's just kind of where I'm at with that, y'all. So I definitely think we should continue to celebrate Martin Luther King.
Exactly, most definitely. So we'll keep the culture going. Keep it going.
So we should definitely keep celebrating Martin Luther King. Definitely uplifting our children to do something different because that's what he fought for. And because of that, they're able to do that. Science, tech, math, anything that they want to do.
Right. It's not always getting a 4-year degree is good to have.
Well, some of the fields you have to have. Like my daughter, she has to have a PhD.
Yeah, some fields are good, but tech, it's another good option.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It's Nothing But the True Podcast. So make sure that you follow the podcast. It's Nothing But the True Podcast on all media outlets, YouTube, Instagram. Make sure that you follow us and see what was going on with the tour and the meetups and everything. So check us out later.